Hello, everybody, and welcome to yet another episode of A Recipe for Adventure. With me, as always, is my good friend Sai. Sai, say hello.
Um, Everyone, it's good to see, or technically not see you all once again. How have you been?
It's a turn of phrase, man. It's a turn of phrase. Okay, I'm pretty sure Sai is doing it on purpose, everybody. Because I know he's smarter than this, because he outsmarts me all the time.
Well, I'm fairly sure we've already established that I'm doing this on purpose.
Damn it, Sai. Anyways, question, and this is a question that I do quite like. If you had to recommend a video game to a D&D group, what would it be? And to make it a bit tougher, we're discounting D&D games specifically. So the easy one, of course, would be Baldur's Gate. But what would you recommend for a group of people who play D&D together specifically?
For them to play together,
Yeah,
um, I would probably recommend an MMO.
an MMO. Ooh. Any
Like
any
that,
yeah?
like, if I was going to recommend one, like, at this moment at a drop of a hat, I would probably lean towards Final Fantasy 14,
Oh.
just because it's still doing good and strong.
Mhm. Mhm.
It has a nice, rich like community of people who role play and such. And even if you don't want to do like hardcore role playing together, just it's another good environment where everyone can get together to play. And like if it's a group of people playing together and everyone's like bonding over D&D, they're bonding over like a kind of fantasy world, right?
Mm, 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 mm.
And so like Final Fantasy, fantasy is in the name. It's I think that's a good sort of one to be like, hey, let's play together outside of D&D time. That's probably what I'd aim for with just like if we're avoiding um you know anything that's deliberately D&D related. And also, since you're specified to the group as a whole,
Mhm.
I feel like an MMO is probably the safest bet to kind of try to get everyone under one net.
Sure. Okay, that makes sense. I suppose people who are into D&D, we can safely say they're into RPGs in general.
Role playing in general, yeah.
Yeah.
So that's why I went an RPG. And then if you're going to do a multiplayer RPG that's not already D&D based, generally you're looking towards an MMO.
Okay. Okay.
Well, to throw it back to you, what would you pick?
So the caveat is I'm pretty sure the game is dead and you can't really play it anymore online because all the servers are gone. Um, I think it might have local multiplayer enabled, but the servers itself dead. Do you remember the game Dungeon Land?
Yes.
I would definitely recommend Dungeon Land because it has that same vibe, but with more chaos. For those of you who don't know, Dungeon Land is an asymmetrical multiplayer game where one player takes the role of Dungeon Master, very on the nose, and the other three players are adventurers, very on the nose. And the idea is the adventurers go throughout an amusement park filled with baddies that the Dungeon Master sort of predetermines are going to spawn by making a deck of cards. And using this deck of cards, they periodically spawn in monsters or traps or activate spells with the mana that they, once again, periodically gain. And once they deal enough damage to the heroes, they gain access to like big ultimate abilities and eventually the final boss. And uh, the game was free to play back in the day, and the monetization came through every time like the dungeon master did well or the players did well. They'd get like some currency that they can then use to like buy cosmetics or additional abilities, in dungeon master's case like more cards to use and such like that. And frankly, as amazing as a game it was bound to fail because being the dungeon master was so fun and easy to cheese that nobody would want to play the adventurers once they figured out how to play the dungeon master.
It's
it's
asymmetrical, but not balanced asymmetrical, and that was its problem.
no, it was too easy to cheese. Like the moment you unlocked the certain cards as the dungeon masters, like the players could barely do anything. Like, and if they could, they had to be like the level of mastery was way off. Like, I assume like if three players worked perfectly together, they would kick the dungeon master's ass. But the problem is you had to get three separate people to work that way. Whereas with the dungeon master, it was much easier to cheese. It's just it is a competitive game by default, and unlike like real D&D where the dungeon master can fudge things to make things easier, you can do that in Dungeon Land, but it's like you're not incentivized to do it really. But it's depressing because I really love Dungeon Land and I wish that it could have continued or games like it would exist more. Makes me sad. But enough about Dungeon Land, the video game. Let's work
Can,
on
can
our.
I have a
Oh,
can I have a second honorable mention for something that I played a long time ago as well?
oh yeah, of course, of course, of course.
Yeah, if I'm thinking of role playing, one of my favorite experiences involving role playing was playing Guns of Icarus.
Oh yeah. You know what? If it weren't for, like Dungeon Land has this issue as well, but if it weren't for the fact that these two games had four players, which
Mm.
some D&D groups do only have four players, one of which being the DM.
Yeah,
Um, yeah, no, Guns of Icarus would be fantastic as well. I remember I was on that crew with you. Yeah, so Guns of Icarus, for those who don't know, would you like to describe it to everybody, Sai?
yeah. Guns of Icarus is basically a airship styled game. It's generally competitive. They did bring in a single player mode, but the idea is that a crew of four made up of a captain, an engineer, a gunner, and someone who can kind of bounce between engineering and gunner, or depending on what they want to do. Basically, pilot an airship together to fight against other people in airships.
Mm, mm, mm. And it's like, oh, the communication, it was really fun.
Yeah, so communication is very key.
I believe our team tried to ram other airships more often than we probably should have, though.
Well, that's because I was the captain.
I mean, I don't blame you. I was egging you on, so I mean, we were the problem.
Well, yes, we were the problem, and I maintain I never crashed.
No,
I
never
I
on
was a good
accident.
no, I was a good pilot, but a crazy pilot.
Did, I'm just trying to remember. Were there actually classes in that game, or were there just tools that like made you
Yeah,
predisposed to certain
well,
rolls?
I think it's technically classes with tools, but like Gunner is basically its own thing. Because
Okay.
I definitely had captain's tools as the captain. Like I had the grog to pour into the engines to make the airship travel faster forward, so I could ramming speed the ship,
I
and I
remember
could
you
yell out
had.
ramming speed
I
and
believe you
watch
had
as
like a
people start
spyglass,
screaming.
right?
Yeah,
It's it was a fun game, like cooperative, like airship or boat things with like players. It's always fun. I think that's why Sea of Thieves was so popular as well.
yeah,
But
because you get to role play and like it's cooperative and like working together to do crazy things together. Like that gets that D&D vibe across without it being D&D. So I
mm,
wanted to mention that one because I have very fond memories of Guns of Icarus.
that's a really good way to like put it. Ah, you know what? I'm gonna save that idea for a ingredients for adventure uh, episode. We're just gonna recommend games and talk about them.
Okay, that's fine.
All
Well,
right. Okay. So, um, let's move. Like before we veer off into an ingredients for adventure episode, let's talk about this dungeon of ours. So,
yeah, the elephant in the room.
the elephant in the room, the beautiful, what is that? Teal, greenish, bluish color.
Aqua.
Aqua. Okay, yeah, I'll go with that. Aqua. It is definitely aqua.
It is water.
It is water. Yes. this. It is a big difference to what we started with. And as a reminder for what we started with, and I'm going to bring it up on screen, we had this, and I'm just going to let people compare to what we had. It is very, very different to what we previously had.
Well, I took what we planned out
Yeah.
and then I adapted it.
Oh yeah, no, your adaptation is superior in like every way. Holy crap, it looks amazing.
Yeah, and so some people will be like, "There's a couple of areas that are not underwater," and the reason for that is actually kind of fun.
Oh.
So, um, so you'll notice like down the bottom, like bottom section, like here's a good place to show it off. There's a lot of like staircases leading up to areas which are not quite underwater.
Uh-huh.
When I was building the map, for some reason, there's like this bottom section and another section around the top. Some of the tools weren't working right, and I was unable to make proper my little open doors. Because you can see like there's the little. If you zoom in really deep at where there's like the door gaps, there's technically little rectangles, which designates where the door opens, and it's just an open door or an open like path.
Yeah, I see that. Yeah.
Yeah. For some reason, for certain rooms, I just could not place them at all. And so I'm like, what do I do? And I started getting creative. I'm like, well, I'll put, a different kind of door, like these big burly steel doors. I'm like, yeah, just putting them there is like cool. But now I'm like, what do I do? It's like it feels weird that there's these particular doors here for no reason. And then I'm like, I went and was looking around at stuff, noticed the stairs, placed the stairs, fit perfectly in these little 2x2 gaps. And now I'm like, ooh, stairs leading up to the steel door. And I'm like, oh, and now these areas are slightly higher than other areas. And now I've got like a little bit of elevations up and down.
Oh, those are... So, I didn't realize those were steel doors.
Yeah.
I thought that was like part of like the floor or something like that.
Well, we could treat them as like a cool archway or something. I just placed that those are just a steel door object. But now it's like we now have like the stairs leading up into areas that are less flooded. But then you also go back down into the water as well. I'm like, that's just cool aesthetically. And so I took some weird bugs and turned it into a feature.
I like it when people do that. Wait, so hang on. So from here to this room, like one of the first rooms, that's just, there's no door there? That's just a, like, open alcove?
Yeah, think of it as, like, open.
Yeah. So there's a lot of area that's just, the players don't actually have to peek on the other side. They can just see, but because of the angle...
Yep.
Like...
Things could be hiding around corners. And, like, there are plenty of corners, and there's, like, rooms with, like, for example, bottom right, there's rubble, right? Enemies could be hiding in rubble.
Yeah.
And so just because you have a clear view of a room does not mean it is completely safe.
Did we determine how deep the water is going to be by any chance?
Yeah, we were discussing it's going to be like maybe waist high at most.
How tall is the shortest dwarf or gnome and halfling?
The shortest halfling, we're looking at about 2 foot to 3 foot. A halfling might actually have to swim.
Okay.
But if we want to be a bit more just like fair to everyone, I would say about a foot of water.
Okay, a foot of water.
I think a foot of water, or like 30 centimeters of water for those who don't use feet as a measurement. We don't normally, but D&D uses feet, so we're using it here. But that's enough water that everyone's going to have trouble moving through, but also not enough that someone is going to drown if they can't swim, no matter how short you are.
This is something I gotta ask. Do we want to say this is considered difficult terrain for everyone here?
I like the idea that it's basically considered difficult terrain for everyone, so everyone's moving at half speed. and that gives its own kind of like facts, right? That means that ranged characters in some of these rooms are going to have distinct advantages.
Depending what
Unless you're,
enemies are
yeah,
here. Like if they're
yeah,
aquatic, then like
yeah. If they can swim and they're not ginormous, a foot of water should be enough for them to just like breaststroke or just like swim through at high speeds. So yeah, like depending on the enemies, that should still be fine.
we'll say 2 feet deep then. Because I believe 2 feet is deep enough for people to swim comfortably in. Is it? Well,
Uh,
relatively comfortably.
2 feet's enough to swim in, yes.
Hmm.
Comfortably depends on who you are.
We I suppose we'll just say you have to use a bit of theater of the mind to like sort of figure things out.
Well, we can just say waist height.
Waist tight. All right.
And then if the party has halflings or gnomes or like very, very short people, they can still swim as per normal.
Okay.
Or they can, ride on the backs of their fellows who can just, move normally.
It's a difficult terrain. Small characters can swim in these areas. You know what? I'm not even gonna bother with that. I'll let DMs figure it out themselves. I'm just gonna say every room is only deep enough to be waist height and considered difficult terrain unless the character has swim speed. We'll just let them figure it out from there.
Yep, that's good.
So we'll throw in our little adventure. Oh my god, is that actually how big? Jeez, hang on.
Hmm?
Jeez, 80 feet. How big is a normal house again? Like, yeah.
I mean, this is a palace.
I know, like, jeez. Okay, they're living in the lap of luxury. I should have, I like the scale of it. You know what? We'll explain to players that it.
Well, this place went to ruin because it was huge and grandiose, and they got greedy, right?
Yeah,
It only
okay.
makes sense for their palace to be ginormous.
Mm. All right, all right. You know what? Fair enough, fair enough. Okay, so I think it's only fair that we go to the GM layer quickly
Hmm.
and we start typing. So I'm going to make this, let's say red. And this is going to be, let's say, size
Do we
72.
want to number them from the top, like top left, and like kind of try to do it in a sort of like easy readable order, or do you want to just put the numbers where we feel it's most appropriate?
Hmm. Let's do
Because
it in this. Let's
I
do it
think from
as.
top left is logically smart for finding numbers.
You know what? You're right. Yeah, let's do it that way. Okay, let's make the numbers 300. Yeah, okay, that works.
Yeah, that's big, but it's not like too big.
Okay. All right, and then we'll put 2 over here, 3 over here. 4. I don't know why it's doing it that way. 5.
You place the numbers, and I'll move the numbers to more like center.
Hmm. Because it's a bit uneven, it's not going to be perfect by the looks of it.
That's fine. I will position the numbers to be as kind of center or like good positioned as possible.
Oh, not even that. It's more that
And I mean, yeah, the numbers won't be like perfectly positioned in a perfect order, but it makes sense. It's good enough, I think.
all right. As long as the DMs can find like where they need more easily. All right. Have I got every room? Okay.
Yes.
This is
So
this is
there's
our
23
biggest
rooms.
dungeon.
Hmm. Oh, definitely. Now, there's 23 rooms. we definitely don't need enemies in every room.
No. But I would
But oh,
definitely like things in each room, if only for flavor reasons.
yeah, small little room descriptions, if nothing else.
Yeah.
So, room one. I think one of the first things I can note about the room is that there's a statue in the corner,
Mm-mm-mm.
and like that's a small little feature. It's nothing too impressive, but it's a relatively larger room with a statue.
Statue in the corner. It holds a stone carving of a scepter.
Cool.
I think you know
So,
which scepter I'm talking about, and I'm gonna,
yep.
I'm gonna put skill checks in this thing. Let's say perception check, or what would you tell people to like roll if they want like examine the artistic value of this statue like more closely? Perception?
Well, I guess are you saying like if they were going to try to sell the statue, how much would they sell it for? Or if
No.
they're trying to like examine it for its like creativeness and
So
stuff?
it's more. I'm essentially trying to make a flavor point about this place. The
Yeah.
artist essentially carved this statue, right?
Hmm.
And they didn't pay much attention to the actual figure holding it, and they more focused on like the scepter and the
Then
treasures
I would say insight,
inside. Okay.
because you're kind of getting into the mind of the individual who made it
All right. Let's
and what they were
say
thinking.
insight 14, DC 14. While the make of the statue is very well made, despite the ravages of time, it becomes clear to you that the artist focused less on the figure itself and more on the items the items and treasures that the figure wore and held. So it's like it sort of shows like, these people cared more about the treasures and the jewelry and such. The scepter, the stone, the necklace, the rings were all carved from the same stone with much detail. There we go.
Mm-hmm.
So I think the players probably already suspected it if they've gotten this far. I think that the people here cared more for treasure than anything else.
Yeah, but a nice little statue in the corner to help reinforce that.
Right.
Yeah, this area is technically in the corner. Do we want to? 'Cause it's technically the furthest from the actual goal point. Do we want to actually put something here for going all the way to this point?
Yeah, I think we kind of do. Let's give it a perception check. What if we make the scepter / statue like deactivate all the traps in the place?
Ooh. That means we're going to be putting traps in this place.
Absolutely.
Well then, as a precursor of placing traps around the place, I wholeheartedly agree to disabling all the traps using this statue.
All right. So would that be investigation or perception that this thing can be invented.
Investigation is usually for finding like little hidden things and disabling traps. The usual idea is that if they want to perception it, it's normally like 5 higher or a larger number higher. So like
like
properly investigating the statue will reveal like a little hidden like
so
lever or something.
maybe we could do perception DC 12. There's something out of place with the statue.
Yeah.
And then I would say, like, in brackets, players may roll investigation at advantage. And then
Knowing
maybe,
that there's something cool. Yeah.
so the DC, let's make it something a bit harder, say 16 or 18?
Yeah, because it's 16, because it's disabling all the traps, but the difficulty is not so much in this, finding it, it's getting to this point to do so in the first place.
So the investigation would be like, the scepter can be, okay, wait. The scepter can be used as a lever if the ring on the hand is pressed at the same time. And then I'll just put in, like, below that, if the players do activate lever at the same time. Wait, hang on. There is a bit of light resistance before it is fully pulled. Okay, if the players do activate the lever fully, it will deactivate all traps and break the arm of the statue as the ravages of time render it useless. So I'm going to also put in brackets. You don't have to tell the players it deactivated the traps.
Yeah.
And it's just, oh god, we broke it. Sort of thing.
No. That's good. I like that.
So that's area number 1.
So, naturally, area 2 is pretty simple.
Very small.
And that's why I want traps.
Okay, what kind of traps do you want in this baby?
I mean, if I had to think of a trap for a simple looking room like this, I'm immediately thinking the crush roof.
Ooh, a crushing roof. Okay. Alright, so maybe a pressure plate right in the middle of the room, maybe?
Yeah.
Okay. If players walk through the middle of this room, 2 sliding doors will immediately slam shut, sealing said room off. Players in the doorways can make one of the following checks. So I'll say something like dexterity check to say, let's say DC 14, so it's hard but not impossible, especially at their level. If they succeed, players can jump out of the way of the slamming doors and receive no damage. Okay. hang on. Players in the doorways will take, let's say, how much damage would a stone ceiling door deal, would you say, if they get caught in it?
Maybe like 3d6 damage and they're immobilized, as they're basically pinned by the door.
Bludgeoning damage and RE mobilized from being pinned by doors. To avoid this, see no damage or a strength check. Strength.
Yeah.
Let's say DC 14. Players can push the doors open. Do we actually do we want to make the strength check harder?
Yeah.
So how much do you think? 20 or something?
I think 17.
17. Doors open. To get out. And hold them open for other characters.
I would also allow a like Thieves' Tools check to try and like kind of reset like one of the doors to open it up like normally.
Thieves'
Because like yeah, you've got like strength characters who can push the doors open, but also in a trap setting, naturally the Thieves' Tools is like here to save the day.
Sure, of course. So what would the DC check for these guys be?
Considering it's an actual tool check and not a flat strength check, I would probably say 19.
19. You know what? Actually, I've got an idea. So 19 would be resetting it, right?
Resetting the door mechanism so it slides open.
Okay. Players can reset the door and make it slide open. Okay. So.
And then give the people inside, say, 3 rounds.
Okay.
Before they get
crushed.
smushed.
Okay, Okay, please walk through the middle of the room. Through the room and step on the middle tile, which is a pressure plate. 2 sliding doors immediately shut. So, okay. Oh. I see. This. Okay, so once the doors slam shut, the roof. Actually, we always say the roof. How about the floor will slowly rise up to meet the roof?
You know what? A nice little reverse. Sure.
Yeah. And like the feeling makes you feel more claustrophobic because like you can sort of feel yourself rising up.
Yep.
Floor will slowly rise up to meet the roof. Oddly, the water will also drain at the same rate.
Well, there is actually on the map. There is like a little ripple area where it suggests that there might be like water, like bubbles slowly coming up. So an area where the water could potentially drain out of. So
Yeah.
that's all good.
I like that. So they have 3 turns.
Yep.
Okay. So over 3 rounds,
Yep.
the following happen. So what happens on turn 1?
I mean, well, say like at initiative 0.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like at the end of the round, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah. So over three. At initiative 0 of the round, first round. I mean, it's like ground rises first, right?
Yep. The sound of draining water is heard. Okay.
Then turn 2, the roof has spikes come out of it or something.
Spikes in the roof emerge. And then turn 3. The floor meets the roof.
And say any creature. Yeah. Still in the room takes, and I'd be like 10d6 piercing damage. So potentially 60 damage, which is crazy. But if you're lucky, only 10, as you get pierced in the side a little bit and nothing too bad. And then the floor resets back down to the bottom.
Then the floor begins to sink back to the bottom as the doors bottom, where the doors are revealed. The doors slowly open back up. So players aren't guaranteed to die if they fail everything, but they could.
Yeah.
So do we want to have like the players like have a way to
well, they can do the strength checks or the thieves checks to get a door open and get out.
Point taken. Okay, you know what? Actually, I'm gonna make the strength check just a bit easier and the thieves tool check just a bit easier. By say 2 points. And there's a reason for this. Due to the bottom part of the door being blocked by the floor and the rushing water, any checks to escape are increased by 1.
Okay.
And I'm going to continue. Do the bottom part of by 1 again. So basically, yeah, strength check and thieves tool check just keep increasing.
Yeah, they get harder as you get closer and closer to Doom.
Oh yeah.
Yep.
So we'll say over 4 rounds then.
Well, no, 3 rounds is fine.
Oh no.
Just say it's at initiative 0, so it's the end of the turn. So everyone gets 3 actions to save themselves.
Following happen. Okay. With the room. So wait, how would I word this?
Yeah, over 3 rounds at initiative 0, these 3 things occur in order.
Oh, okay. At initiative 0, so players always act first. The following happen in this order.
Yep.
Okay, I think I always add so players always act first, because to me, initiative 0 sounds like the room would act first always. Because you always go for the smaller number, don't you? Wait, no.
No.
You go for the higher number. Never mind.
Yep.
Okay, wait. So players always act first. Never mind. I won't do this part because in theory, someone could have negative initiative score.
So someone could get a 0.
Someone could get a -1, even. I mean, if I had a character with, say, 7 dexterity,
Yeah.
oh, I mean, that would be rough. Alright, so that's room number 2, big traps. Do we want to do anything special for number 3?
Well, number 3 has 2 things of rubble.
Mm-mm-mm.
And we've had 2 rooms with no combat.
Mm-hmm.
I think this would be a good first room to maybe put something, like maybe a couple of creatures that hide in the rocks.
Oh. Okay. Do we want to make anything too? Do we want anything like really that we haven't ran into yet, or do we just want some wildlife? You think?
That's a good question. Because I don't think we want anything too dangerous at the moment. So something minor. Like we could be like it's equip a swarm.
I was just thinking
Maybe
that.
2. Maybe 2 octopi, like 2 giant octopuses. That can fit in really nice. Give me a sec to see if there's anything else that's aquatic in nature that might just enjoy being in the water that we could use. Because like part of me wants to add something new.
If we do add something new, is there something that's flat?
Flat.
Yeah, like a stingray. Just as a subtle like clue to what to expect in room number 2.
Stingray. Huh? Oh, wait. Ray.
Because there's lot.
Like it's not actually a stingray. That's a bit too high level though. Because immediately when you went stingray, I'm like, ooh, cloaker.
Yeah, I was about to say cloakers look like a sort of ray, don't they?
Yeah, but they are 1, they do not swim, and 2, they are CR8.
Jeez. Okay, they're a boss fight for this level.
Yeah, they're a bit too strong, unfortunately.
Mm-mm.
Maybe like octopus would work because octopi can just squeeze into tight spaces. But yeah, as for something that's like flat, yeah, I can't really think of anything that's like super flat that would work super well.
That's unfortunate.
Yeah, well, it's like it's one of those things where it's like you're not always going to find something that you want perfectly.
Oh, you found something?
Well, I just stopped my thought a bit. What if instead of like a typical water-based creature, an ooze?
Oh,
Because they could be squished all they want and
they'll be
be completely
fine.
fine.
Yeah, is there one that's immune to piercing damage?
Piercing?
Yeah.
I mean, piercing, I'm not too sure, but you could very easily argue they could just avoid the spikes.
Because I'm wondering if we want to give like this ooze like the the behavior once it gets down to half health that'll flee into room number 2.
Because yeah, in terms of things immune to piercing, there's like nothing that actually exists that's immune to piercing. So, but yeah, like an ooze would be kind of cool.
In that case, what about like let's just say spikes, yada yada, any creature. What size are dwarves? They're still considered medium-sized creatures, aren't they?
Yeah.
What's the step down from small?
Small's usually half the height.
No, I mean,
So
like,
like,
what's the step down from small?
oh, tiny.
Okay, I thought so. Any creature in the room, unless they are tiny or smaller. So tiny creatures. And what's the stat block for a slime?
Oh, depends on what kind of ooze we want.
D&D
Uh,
5e ooze.
like the standard like weakest ooze that you'll generally find is the grey ooze, which is challenge rating 1/2.
Okay. And what size are they? Resembling whetstone or rock?
They're medium. Yeah.
They're considered medium. Corrode metal, develop latent psionic ability. Where are the stats on this thing? I'm gonna find my DMG. Do you want to go through and give this slime ooze that I've just put on map some stats, please? While I look for my DMG.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Do we not have grey ooze stats in Roll20?
I do not.
Well, let me see if I do.
Mm-mm-mm.
On my end, and if not, I'll grey oozify. Oh, yep, grey ooze, stat block, and a token.
Oh yeah, throw them on the field, please.
Yep.
Oh, you're
And
on GM layer.
I am on GM. There we go. Little grey ooze.
Alright, I'm gonna.
Grey oozes aren't too hard to kill. They've got like 22 HP and like 8 AC. But if they hit you, you can hurt. So, what do you reckon? Like maybe just like 2 of these for a little bit of damage, chip damage before potentially the trap room.
Yes, I'm going to edit it actually. I'm going to give it a
Mhm.
new ability. So,
Ooh. Yep.
edit. Hang on. How do I? Here we go. So, malleable form. I think I've spelt that right. Malleable. You know what? Hang on. Give me a second.
Malleable form.
Okay, I think I spelt it correctly.
I think it's actually malleable with an A after the E.
Malleable form. Alright, let's see. This creature is immune to physical damage from spiked traps as long as it stays still. There we go.
Cool.
Okay. And is there a way to add like a little note to this thing, or do we have to do it in the... I'm just gonna do it in the Google Drive documents. So we have a couple of these guys, and they're hiding amongst the gray thingy. So number 3, there are 2 gray oozes. Is this... hang on, I can never... gray as an A. Okay. Gray oozes hiding amongst the rubble. They will attempt to attack the players. Attack any player that comes between themselves as part of an ambush. If one is slain, then the survivor will rush to area 2, where it will try to trigger the trap on purpose and use its malleable form to avoid damage.
Okay. So it's a grey ooze that's got some intelligence, but not a fully psychic one.
No.
Cool. I boosted its intelligence from 1 to 6.
Beautiful.
Which is enough to make a plan, but like basically the one plan.
Yeah, just one plan. Okay, so do we want to give players a clue that these ones are smarter than the average bear by any chance? Just
I'm going to give this thing
check.
a swim speed of 15.
Yep.
As well.
What is the DC check for grey oozes, generally speaking? That's Arcana?
Trying to know about them? Yeah, I'd say Arcana.
Okay. Arcana DC, let's say 12. Grey oozes can be psychic. And are generally the weakest of all oozes. Okay, wait, hang on. Grey oozes can damage metal. Grey oozes are corrosive to metal, can be second, and generally the weakest of all oozes. However, something about these ones are a bit different. Almost smarter. Almost seemingly smarter. Not that it's a high bar. Actually, however, these ones seem smarter than the average grey ooze. There we go. So yeah, these ones will eat your swords if they can.
Mm-hmm.
Alright. And if one of them dies, it will try to flee to number 2.
Cool.
Alright.
And with now a little swim speed, they can do so if they need to.
These ones are weird.
Yeah, that's fine. So I actually renamed them to the Kraken's Pearl Grey Ooze to be like, okay, they are different enough from the base stat block by a little bit, so I'll give them a unique name.
Ooh, I like that.
Cool. So, room 4.
Room number 4. I'm thinking we can throw the players a bit of a bone here. Not necessarily a resting area, but like a place to loot even, so...
Well, there is like the rubble, or the debris in the bottom right, so it's like, yeah, lootable stuff potentially.
Okay. The room has a statue. Ruined statue of a dwarf. Some rubble and several pieces of wreckage. So do we want to like have players do like a little search check, investigation to like go through all that? Okay. Investigation. DC. Let's do something simple first, like DC 10, so people can just find it easily.
Yeah.
do we want to do something special for like room 12 in particular? That's related all over the dungeon, because I noticed that there's like 6 statues on the left there.
We can get to that when we get to that, I think. Well, I mean, yes, I want to do something cool for room 12, but we can wait until room 12.
Okay, that's fair. Alright, so investigation DC 10. Oh, you know what? Players find. Okay. Corroded metal weapons.
Oh,
Only
little hint about 3. Yeah.
the handles remain. And you know what? Let's make that a perception DC 12 check. This damage isn't from rust. So at first it's like, oh, corroded metal weapons in water. Oh, that makes sense. It's just rusted. And then a perception 12 will be like, hang on. No, it isn't.
It's a bit weird there.
Yeah. Corroded metal weapons, not even good for scrap. Only the handles remain. Okay. Investigation DC. Ooh, I have an idea. 15. Yeah. A coral club. Okay. On first sight, it appears to be a piece of coral. However, on closer inspection, the thing is not just detached from the floor, but it also has a nice handle. So basically, it's a non-metal weapon.
Yep.
Treat this player's gain the coral. Let's call it the coral club, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But the font, like, it feels like a club is a bit weak, so.
How about a coral mace?
Yeah.
It's a D6.
Mace. You know, we don't even have to add it to notable items.
No, it's just a mace, but it's made of a unusual material. That's it.
Which is non-magical and works as a normal mace that's not metal.
Yep, so you can't heat metal it to get rid of it. That's its one advantage over a regular mace.
And of course, it can't be corroded by the oozes.
Yep.
Can be sold for... How much is a mace usually?
Not much.
Said 10 GP.
Yeah, it's only 5 GP, so 10. Cool.
For its artistic value. Alright, you know what? I think we've done quite well. We've taken the first steps to making the palace. The first 5 areas, mind you, so we've got a lot of work to do.
That's 4. We did 4.
We did 4. Wow, we really haven't got through much yet. But yeah, I think we're coming up to the, not quite the 1 hour mark, but very close. So I think it's a good time to end it there. My name is FreebieWits. Comment, like, subscribe, all that usual stuff, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.
Ciao.